It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, Game 1 of 3 with Pittsburgh, and the final series for the homestand. Dodgers then go out following Sunday and go to Philadelphia and Cincinnati. You know, if you go back to 2001 through 2013, why, the Dodgers just wore out the Pirates. They beat them 67 times while losing only 26. But the last 3 years, the Pirates have turned the tables on the Dodgers. They've beaten them 13 of 17, 5 of 6 last year, and would you believe, 3 of 4 this year. So despite the fact the Pirates are in third place, 15 games behind the Cubs, they still are a formidable foe as the Dodgers try to catch the Giants. They trail by 1. On the mound for Pittsburgh, Ivan Nova, N-O-V-A, used to be with the Yankees, joined the Bucks August 1, and they say he has a devastating curveball. On the mound for the Dodgers, Ross Stripling with a record of 3-3. Those are the names, those are the numbers. Pull up a chair. Spend part of the evening with us tonight with a good ball game and a whole lot more right after this. Hello, hello, and hello yourself, and hello yourselves.
And the Dodgers at last are world champions. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ben Scully speaking to you.
Everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. Corey Seager leading the Dodgers onto the field. A huge sigh of relief here at Dodger Stadium. Seager hit on the wrist on Wednesday, but no after effects, and he's ready to go again, hitting number 2 in the Dodger lineup after taking a selfie, and off to his position he goes. For the Dodgers and the visiting Pirates, we first of all say hello to an old friend, Clint Hurdle. And here's Clint's lineup. It reads as follows: Josh Harrison at second base, Starling Marte in left field, and Andrew McCutchen in center. Gregory Polanco in right, David Freese at third, Jordy Mercer at short, Sean Rodriguez at first. The catcher is Eric Pryor, and the pitcher Ivan Nova. For the Bucks, they come in here 15 games behind the Chicago Cubs, and they're facing Ross Stripling with a record of 2-3. In fact, they had a win. He's 3-3 going into this one. Ross has done well. The problem is, like every other Dodgers starter, he hasn't worked more than 6 innings in 8 of 9 starts. So the question is whether he just fatigued or losing efficiency. To give you an idea, first time through the lineup hits 189. Second time, 271. Third time, 314. So Dodger relievers wouldn't mind a long outing by Stripling. Since the 26th of June, the day that Clayton Kershaw made his most recent start, the Dodger relievers have piled up 155 innings in relief. Josh Harrison, right-hand batter, takes a strike, and we're underway. Josh, the second baseman, hitting 270, but he hits even higher as a leadoff man, batting 327 in this position in the lineup. Strike one pitch. Josh holds up on a pitch high, and a 1-1 count. 5'8", a good 190 out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Plays second, third, even a bit in the outfield if necessary. And the 1-1 pitch on the way, low and away, ball 2. Harrison, in his young career, has a little 6-game hitting streak here at Dodger Stadium. So Harrison starting it all off, followed by Marte and then McCutchen. Stripling comes over the top, fastball rolled up the middle. Seager gobbles it up, double clutches, throws, and gets him anyway. Seager double crutching, and there'll be a moment now while the Pirates check with the videographer. Harris thought he had the play beaten. There's the catch, and then there's the double clutch. The throw makes it close. So we will wait and see the Pirates whether it's worth reviewing or not. It doesn't look like it, but you never know. So Harrison is hanging around the first base coaching box. They're waiting for the phone call. And it looks like, never mind.
Holland Field is under review.
Now the umpires are going to review the play. We were looking at the dugout of the Pirates, and it did not look like they were going to ask for a review, but they are. Well, you might have a question. What's wrong this season with the Pirates? Well, they started out okay. They were 28-19. Then they lost 20 of 26. That put them 5 games under 500. Then Clint's club had a 7-game winning streak early in July, but then they've slipped back. 13 wins, 14 losses since then. So the struggles of the Mets, the Cardinals, however, and the Bucks are still within striking distance of the final wild card spot, currently held by Miami. And they're going to rule it base hit. So the ground ball double clutched by Corey Seager, and Harrison is aboard with a single. So it's a promising way for the Pirates to open up. Remember, they have been giving the Dodgers a bad time. 13 out of 17, won 5 out of 6 last year. They've won 3 out of 4 from the Dodgers this year. So now Starling Marte steps in. Marte has hit in 6 of his last 7 on the road. This is a ball club, by the way, struggling on the road. The pitch to Marte is taken for a strike, and the count 0-1. The Pirates have lost 8 of their last 10 road games. So Marte trying to keep it going. Harrison, an infield single. Marte called, right-hand batter, throw to first. Harrison diving back. On deck is Andrew McCutchen, and the entire state of Pennsylvania is wondering what's wrong with Andrew McCutchen, a magnificent player who is struggling a little bit. Strike one pitch, a bluff by Harrison, a swing and a miss by Marte. And the count, no balls and 2 strikes. Marte definitely the result of the Pirates doing some hard scouting in Latin America. Marte is 6'2", about 180, from Santo Domingo. Harrison over there at first, takes his lead. Stripling again throws over there. Marte does everything. He's hitting .315. He has 7 home runs, and he has 39 stolen bases. So a runner at first, nobody out. First inning, no score. Stripling set, another backward glance at Harrison. Still looking, and Harrison goes, and the pitch is promptly whacked into center for a base hit. Harrison lost sight of the ball, so stayed right there at second. And a good job by Utley to try to fool him. Utley in the air as if he was going to catch that, and I think that's all that occupied Harrison's attention. So with the runner going, Utley breaks to cover. He does that fake on the catch, pointing high in the air. Harrison said, wait a minute, where's the ball? Well, it's in the center field for a base hit, and the Bucs are in business. First and second, nobody out. And the biggest question really of the year, what is wrong with Andrew McCutchen? I mean, McCutchen, despite all of his problems with everybody else, is still doing very well against the Dodgers. McCutchen promptly grounds the first pitch foul, and the count 0-1. McCutchen for so many years was the machinery. He's what made the ball club go. And for the moment, for this year, the machinery has been pretty quiet. Always remember the story of his father drawing a line, not Clint, but his father. His father drew a line in the ground when he was a little boy, and he said, on the other side of that line is your house. You think of that when you go up to the plate. Andrew takes a little low, 1-1. And he said, you have to keep in your mind 3 words: protect the house. Well, everything has gone wrong for him. He hit .226 in April, .202 in June, .247 in July, and since June 1, his average has drifted below .400 for 3 months. Andrew, big swing and a miss, and the count 1-2. He's not a big man, but he has carried this ball club for several years. For instance, even last year, 23 home runs, 96 runs batted in, hit .292. He's 5'10", 185. He'll be 30 years old in October. Signed recently at the start of the year a 6-year contract extension. Here's the 1-2 pitch to Andrew McCutchen. Stripling delivers, ground ball to third, right by the diving Turner into left field. Harrison is on his way to score. Going into third easily is Marte, and so McCutchen, when everything else fails, he hurts the Dodgers, and Andrew singles just by the diving Turner, and a run batted in. The 3 consecutive hits against Ross Stripling. Pirates are on the board and look like they're going to try to not settle for just 1 run. And Gregor Polanco coming up. So Harrison, who remember was called out on that play at first, and then they won the review. So now he's in, having brought in a run, and Polanco is ready. 1-0 Pittsburgh, 3 consecutive hits. Gregory Polanco, big left-hand batter, leans over the plate a little bit. Stripling checking, ready and deals. Runner goes, pitch is high, the throw is late, gets away from Seager, and safely in is McCutchen. So all the while holding at third was Marte. So the Dodgers get the message. The Pirates are going to run on you. So now second and third on the stolen base. 1 ball and no strikes to the hitter, Gregory Polanco, who certainly brings up a big strike zone. Polanco is 6'4" and 220. McCutchen has stolen his 5th base. So second and third, nobody out. Bucks lead 1-0. Stripling ready, checks, and the young right-hander delivers, and it's swung on and fouled back. Polanco, signed by the Pirates back in 2009. He has been up and down in the organization. Last year, 9 home runs, 52 runs batted in. This year, he has 16 home runs and 60 runs batted in. Actually, as an amateur in the Dominican, he was primarily a pitcher. So here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Stripling ready and deals ground foul outside of first and down the line. The Pittsburgh Pirates. What a great franchise. So many marvelous stars coming up through their organization to play in the big leagues. And now it's a young ball club trying to rebuild and come back, a little bit like the Phillies, although they look like a better team than the Phillies, at least right now. Stripling taking a little time now, looks in. Polanco waiting with second and third, so a mistake here, and the Dodgers are really in a hole. Polanco throws his bat at the ball. He strikes out. The bat goes sailing by the mound out on the grass, and down he goes. So that's a big strikeout. Nobody out second and third. Now you have one out. And David Freese coming up. And if there's one fella the Dodgers really did need to see, it's David Freese. Freese has extraordinary power. You probably remember when he was with the St. Louis Cardinals, also played for the Angels, but he hammers the ball going the other way. Dodgers move Jock Peterson just a little bit towards right center, and as soon as he walks over there, he walks back to his previous position. But Freese has really swung a big, hurtful bat to the opposition, hitting a solid .283. Stripling ready. Freese takes a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. 11 home runs, 45 runs batted in. Freese, as a right-handed swinger, has produced a higher slugging percentage when he goes to right field for any other player since 1988. Strike one pitch, poked foul off first, upstairs. So he's in a hole now, 0-2. In fact, the only other righty to even produce a slugging percentage higher than 1 would be Matt Kemp. So Freese back up, no balls, 2 strikes. Stripling trying to fight his way out of a jam. Second and third, a run in, 1 out. After Freese comes Jordy Mercer. Stripling at the belt. Looks into Grandal for the moment. The pitch to Freese, low and away, and a 1-ball, 2-strike count. Ross Stripling with a record of 3-3. Reasonably good earned run average, 3.7. He's never pitched against the Pirates. Last time he pitched against the Red Sox, and he turned in a great 5 scoreless innings. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Poked foul off to the right and out of play. So you pitch Freese away, and he not only goes that way, but usually with some power, some sock. For Freese, he has hit safely in each of his last 7 games at Dodger Stadium. Coming in after having 2 hits and a couple of RBIs on Thursday. All right, the 1-2 pitch to David Freese. Swung on, high chopper over the mound. The run's going to score. Seager can't make a play on the high chopper, and it is 2-0 Pittsburgh on the infield single. That is the 4th base hit by the Pirates in the first inning.
Shortstop number 10.
So Freese, a high bouncer. Seager, realizing he could not make a play, wisely held on to it. He had a glove on the run and again didn't have enough of a grip. So everybody moves up. Marte comes in to score. McCutchen goes to third. Freese at first with a run batted in. 2-0 in favor of the Pirates. Still only one out. Jordy Mercer coming up, the shortstop from Tulaga, Oklahoma. It's a small town. Boyd Robertson knows. Population 299. How did they ever find it in a town like that? He takes a pitch for a strike. 0-1. Freese immediately faking as if he's going to run. Well, I'm not sure it's such a fake. They've been running, although Freese does not have a stolen base, nor does he have an attempt. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Pirates. First inning, 1 out. Mercer followed by Sean Rodriguez. The next pitch is foul back, and the count 0-2. Well, the one thing for Stripling, he's throwing strikes. Harrison got an infield single, ground ball to Seager. Marte singled up the middle. McCutchen singled a left for a run. Freese singles to the shortstop Seager, who again double clutched and couldn't make a play. Mercer leading National League shortstop in his fielding percentage. So Jordy waiting, right-hand hitter. Runners at the corners. 1 out. Strike 2 pitch in the dirt. Nice save by Yasmani Grandal. Sean Rodriguez on deck. The Pittsburgh Pirates. You know, at one time down through the years, they've had 25 batting titles won by Pirates, including from Honus Wagner to Bill Madlock. It has been a very, very successful organization. 1-2 pitch coming up. Stripling delivers, ground ball to short. Slowly, they're going to get a force play. They throw to first, bounce too late, and the run scores to make it 3-0 Pittsburgh as Andrew McCutchen scores on the force play. So Freese erased at second base. McCutchen carries in the run. Let's take a look at the Dodgers defensively. Gonzalez and Utley, Seager and Turner, Kendrick, Peterson and Reddick, with Grandal behind the plate and Ross Stripling on the mound. So Mercer hits into a force play. He picks up a run batted in. Buck's trying to give the Dodgers another bad time. They beat them 5 out of 6 last year. They won 3 out of 4 in June this year, and they're leading in the first meeting here 3-0 as Sean Rodriguez checks in. Rodriguez has a look at a pitch low and a 1-ball no strike count. So Stripling giving up base hits, but a kind of base hits that you have to shake yourself and think, boy, he's really unlucky. Ross trying to keep his head on. Rick Honeycutt making his own notes. 1 ball and no strike. Freese, McCutchen back in the dugout. Ground ball to the left of short. Seager up with it, feeds Utley, and the inning is over. However, it was a pretty good inning for the visiting Pirates. They come up with 3 runs, 4 hits, and at the end of half an inning, Pirates 3, Dodgers nothing. Think of the hits that have given him a bad time. 2 of them were in the glove of Corey Seager. One, Corey couldn't make a throw, and the other, he threw late. So the Dodgers now trying to come roaring back for Dave Roberts, and here's his lineup. Chase Utley at second, Corey Seager at short, Justin Turner at third, Josh Reddick in right, Adrian Gonzalez at first, Yasmani Grandal behind the plate, Jock Peterson in center, Howie Kendrick in left, and Ross Stripling on the mound. On the mound for the Pirates, Ivan, I-V-A-N, Ivan Nova from the Dominican Republic, originally signed as a free agent by the Yankees in 2005. He had Tommy John surgery back in 2014. So Nova ready to go to work. And the big right-hander, who is 6'5", 235, misses away, ball 1 to Chase Utley. Utley in the leadoff role, hitting .249. Interesting, 409 plate appearances without grounding into a double play. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way, in for a strike. Who do you think holds the record as far as plate appearances and grounding into a double play? Well, if we don't tell you, we'll wait a while. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, fouled off to the left, out of play. There he is, Dave Roberts, 440 plate appearances without grounding into a double play. Then going back to Kevin Ulster, Franklin Stubbs, and Roger Cedeno. Dave talking to Adrian Gonzalez, and the 1-2 pitch coming up, off speed and away. 2-2 the count. So Utley trying to lead the way back. 2-2 the count. Since the 27th of June, the last time that the Dodgers played the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've really done a great job as Utley hits one in the air to left center, and moving over, calling for it at the same time. It's Marte for the catch, with McCutchen running behind him. Take a look now at the Bucks defensively. They shape up this way: Rodriguez and Harrison, Mercer and Freese, Marte, McCutchen, and Polanco, and Fryer behind the plate. So 1 away on a long fly ball to left field, and the batter now is Corey Seager, hitting .305, 21 home runs, 55 runs batted in. Corey swings, promptly hammers it down the left field line, base hit. Marty over to pick it up and holds him to a long single. Nice play by Starling Marte to keep Seager at first. That was a bullet going down the left field line. So Seager, who has had 3 straight multi-hit games, starts off tonight on the very first pitch and promptly singles. Only a good defensive play kept him at first, and the batter is Justin Turner. So Turner checking in. Ivan Nova gave up the long fly ball, now the single. Turner hitting .275. But when you realize what's happened with him, when he joined the Dodgers back in 2014, he was virtually a utility player. He has hit .299 since the day he joined. Nova delivers, fastball strike, 0-1. Nova on 4 days rest, and it is so important for a pitcher. On 4 days rest, he is 5-1. On 5 days rest, he is 0-4 with an earned run average of 8. And tonight, he's on 5 days rest. Strike 1 pitch on the way. That's hammered to left field. Marte coming up to backhand it, and holding on at first is Seager. So 2 nice plays by Starling Marte out there in left field. And the batter will be Josh Reddick. Last year, and you might very much have lost it in all the confusion of numbers, but last year, the Pirates staff's earned run average was second best in the major leagues. Their ERA for the staff, 3.2. This year, they're 15th with an ERA of over 4. Big right-hander Nova's fastball in for a strike. When we were talking about Nova before the game, we were talking about the fact that he has what we have been led to believe, a great curveball. In fact, 2/3 of his strikeouts over the past 4 years have just been on the curve. That's 4 times the average. Strike one pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. There you can see 65.3 impact. Strikeouts on curve, second highest. Well, he had Tommy John surgery in 2014, and he's come back. His dad managed a restaurant on the beach in the Dominican. Here's the strike two pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off, though the count 0-2. In the past, Reddick has done well against Nova over in the American League. Reddick, 5 hits, 2 doubles, and 2 home runs against him. 0-2 the count to Josh Reddick. Another thing about Nova besides the curveball, he had given up on the cutter prior to having Tommy John surgery. He might have even blamed the cutter for causing the problem, but he's back to throwing it again. There's the strike two pitch coming up from the big guy, and the right-hander at 6'5" delivers and misses. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ivan Nova, 29 years old. As we mentioned, signed by the Yankees. First came up in 2011, and what a year to break in. He was 16-4 with the Yankees 5 years ago. Right-handed deals, ground ball to short, the only man on the left side. They get the force play, and that's that. No runs, 1 hit. Seager left at first, and at the end of an inning, 3-0 Pittsburgh. Roots for both teams and both players. First of all, on the left is a man whose name might be mispronounced. His name is Jung Ho Gung, not Kang, Gung. And of course, Ryu on the other side. Good for you. He went to a lot of trouble to do that. Meanwhile, the first pitch to Eric Fryer, the catcher, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Fryer picked up off waivers, hitting .291. Stripling comes back with another strike, and the count 0-2. So Ross roughed up a little, 4 hits. A couple of them, however, were in Seager's glove. Never got rid of them, and it hurt him along the way. Strike 2 pitch on the way to Fryer, way off the plate. Eric Joseph Fryer against Ross Stripling. Eric Joseph from Columbus, Ohio. Went to school at Ohio State, and the Buckeye is late but fouls it away, and the count 1-2. Fryer will be 31 the 26th of the month. Signed by the Brewers 9 years ago in the 10th round. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Eric takes very high. 2-2. Well, no secret, if you are a young fella and you are a catcher, when he grew up, his favorite athlete, Mike Matheny, he picked a dandy. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Stripling comes back, and that's hit late. Foul off to the right and out of play. Fryer, not only a very good athlete, he was a graduate valedictorian of his class of over 300. And he graduated from Ohio State. Whoa, with magna cum laude honors. We have a smart guy there who hits a slow roller. Seager up with it, gets rid of it in a hurry, and takes care of Eric Fryer. Magna cum laude. Oh, one away. Make room on that bench for Eric Fryer. And Ivan Nova coming up. Nova gives you that good strike zone. 6'5". He does have 2 hits, but not much of a swinger. 18 strikeouts in 21 plate appearances. First pitch, fastball for a strike, and the count 0-1. Pirates 15 games behind the Cubs, who just don't lose. The next one, Marte takes a strike. Nova does. In the inning, Harrison singled, Marte singled, McCutchen singled for a run, then Freese singled for a run. Force play, got the 3rd in. Strike 2 pitch, way off the plate. The reason they are so far behind the Cubs, the Pirates have lost 9 of 12 going head to head with Chicago. Pop fly right side. Utley calling, but he's called off by Reddick, who has a much easier play. Say, friends, don't forget Dodgers and Giants Tuesday, August 23rd through Thursday, August 25th. Whatever you do, don't miss the chase for the National League Western title. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. Orioles at the Giants. It's Dylan Bundy and Matt Cain, and the Orioles have 2 runs already, and they're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Orioles 2, Giants nothing. 2 down, bases empty. Harrison swings, fouls it back, and the count 0-1. So Josh Harrison started it all going with that infield single. He has a look at a pitch a little low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Harrison 5'8" and 190. 29 years old. Originally signed by the Cubs out of the University of Cincinnati. A little roller to third. Good jump by Turner. High throw, but it's picked off by Adrian, and that's that. Boy, Turner really got a good jump on that slow roller. He read it right off the bat. So down go the Bucks, and at the end of an inning and a half, 3-0 Pittsburgh. On starter Ross Stripling for 4 hits and 3 runs in the first inning. Dodgers coming up now in the bottom of the second. Gonzalez, Grandal, and Peterson. Clint Hurdle. Boy, if you ever saw someone who looked and was a terrific player for a little while, it was Clint Hurdle. We'll tell you why in a minute. Right now, here comes Gonzalez. Shows bunt, takes ball 1. Hurdle was a great looking ball player when he was 14. And Kansas City made him a first-round draft in '75. He arrived in the big league 6 weeks after his 20th birthday. Foul ball. That would be September of '77. He was 6'4", 195 pounds, movie star looks. Naturally, he homered into the center field waterfall in his second major leaguer at bat. He was indeed called Mr. Wonderful by the Royals fans. You get the idea. He had it all. 1 ball and 1 strike the count. Adrian waiting. The shift is on. He pulls one on the ground to the middleman. Harrison picks it up and just does throw him out. The Harrison playing on the grass, and that seemed like a long throw for him, but he made it. I don't know whether he had a good grip. He has a big grin as he looks over to Sean Rodriguez. But that was a monumental effort to throw the ball to first base. So 1 away. Yasmani Grandal checking in. Three to nothing Pittsburgh, bottom of the second inning. And the first pitch away to Grandal. Ball 1. Yasmani is healthy, and the Dodgers are so much better for it. The 1-0 pitch on the way is taken off speed for a strike. Breaking ball. 1-1 the count. By the way, just to finish up part of the story about Clint Hurdle. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Inside ball 2, 2-1. With everything else going for him, he was so good looking. He was the perfect looking player. Naturally, after 1 year in the big leagues, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Here's the 2-1 pitch. Line drive to center. McCutchen started in. It's over his head, and somehow he makes a circus catch. Whoa! That ball was hit so hard, and he stepped in as if it was going to be a sinking line drive. And I'll tell you, only a great athlete should have been able to recover and make the catch on that, because he was really fooled. Now he's trying to catch up and somehow made the catch. Oh. Andrew McCutchen, a circus catch. Some can do that. Some can make a mistake, step in on the ball, and then go back and make that play, but not many. Wow. So 2 down. Yeah, Grandal furious. McCutchen's delighted. And the batter's Jock Peterson. Jock has a look at a breaking ball strike. A little off speed. 0-1 the count. 3-0 favor the Pirates. Second inning. Giants are losing to Baltimore early. 2-0. And the pitch to Peterson is away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball fouled away. Just to conclude the Hurdle story, I mean, he had everything. Great athleticism, handsome, cover of Sports Illustrated, and he went the wrong way. And his career deteriorated. He had an interesting remark. The saying, if you don't feel close to God today, who moved? And he said, I moved. Well, he's a terrific guy. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way. Slap foul off third. Clint Hurdle at a big Rapids, Michigan. And of course, the skipper of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Bucks got 4 hits, 3 runs in the first inning. Dodgers trying to catch up. Peterson pulls one foul way down the line. And the count remains 1-2. The Pirates, well, they won the World Series in 1909, in 1925, in 1960, in 1971, and 1979. Some of the greatest names in baseball in the Hall of Fame played for the Bucks. 2-2 they count. Honus Wagner, Archie Vaughan, Fred Clark, Pie Traynor, Paul Wainer and Lloyd Wainer, Max Carey, Roberto Clemente, Ralph Kiner, Bill Mazeroski, Will Vistargel. Oh boy, they have had some great players. 2-2 pitch on the way. Fastball hit foul off to the left and out of play. And a good fastball at 95. Paul Wainer and Lloyd Wainer, they have the nickname Big Poison and Little Poison. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Off speed, slow curve, fouled away, still 2-2. Boy, one of the tremendous changes in Pittsburgh. When I first came there in 1950, Forbes Field was where they played. And by 10 o'clock at night, the blast furnaces would clear out in all the mills. If you wore a white shirt, you'd leave the hotel with this nice white shirt. By the time you got back to the hotel, it had that black ring all around the collar. Line drive to left field, and that's going to be a dying effort, but nothing else by Marte. He finally picks it up, but has no play. So Marte was playing more straightaway left on Peterson than left center. He came close, but no cigar. And of course, imagine if Grandal's ball gets over the head of McCutchen, they have an inning going. As it was, Marte got his glove on it, but after the short hop. So McCutchen came over to back up. On TV, it was that close. So a 2-out double by Peterson. That brings up Howie Kendrick with Stripling on deck. And they will pitch to Kendrick. So the Dodgers now have their second hit. Kendrick trying to pick him up, hitting .267. And promptly bangs it into right field. Base hit. Charging the ball is Polanco. Here comes Peterson. He is safe. Down to second base goes Kendrick. And they're getting on the phone immediately in the Pirate dugout. Tim Hurdle up the steps, held his arms high in the air as if say, wait a minute. So a very close play. In fact, in watching the plate umpire, Marvin Hudson, the way his arm went, I thought he was first going to call him out. So it was close. A one-hopper, the tag, and Marvin holding on to the mask. Take a closer look. Watch the foot. And from that side, you can't tell. Did the tag beat the foot? Here's another look. There's that foot. There's the tag. Very tough call. Well, they're on the phone, and in a moment we'll find out. Are they going to review it or not? Yep, headsets telling the umpires it's a review. So Kendrick apparently doubles in a run, but we'll wait and see. One thing, certainly, Nova has not fooled anybody. I mean, Grandal cracks the ball over the head of Andrew McCovey. And then Peterson, a line drive off the glove of the left fielder. And then Kendrick, a bullet into right field. So the umpires, Marvin Hudson, Jim Joyce, Chad Fairchild, Gabe Morales. Close play. That's a good view. Wow. Peterson is trying to help out, hollering safe. The question, the right foot looked like it was crossing home plate before the tag. We can't see the tag, but the foot certainly is dragging across. But then again, they'll be examining it from every possible angle. You can see the left leg is folded. If that left leg was extended, he'd have been tagged out. And Jim Joyce says safe. So Kendrick doubles to right, scoring Peterson, and the Pirate lead is 3-1. So back-to-back doubles after, remember, the hardest hit ball so far in the game was the ball that McCutchen caught. So the Pirates 3 runs, 4 hits. Dodgers 1 run, 3 hits. And now Stripling at the plate. Backs off, takes ball 1. 1-0. Ross 1 for 14. He has struck out half the time. Nova comes right back over the top, fastball in there. 1-1 the count. Naturally, the Pirates know their own business, but for a ball club that is so close to a wild card, remember they traded away Mark Melancon to Washington, their closer. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Stripling hesitates and takes a strike. By the way, if you are keeping score, Kendrick will get a single, and he goes to second on the throw to the plate. 3-1 Pittsburgh. Bottom of the second inning, 2 out. Nova out of a stretch, looks back at Kendrick, comes back to Stripling. It's swung on and missed, and that'll be that. So the curveball finally pops up to strike out a hitter. It was the pitcher. And for the Dodgers, Peterson doubles, Kendrick singles him in. And at the end of 2, 3-1 Pittsburgh. In favor of the Pittsburgh Pirates. Little youngster with mom helping. Meanwhile, Jock Peterson scoring the Dodger run on a very close plate. The run banged in by Howie Kendrick. So 3-1 Pittsburgh. For the Bucks coming up, it will be Starling Marte who singled, followed by Andrew McCutchen who singled. Bucks with 4 hits and 3 runs. Marte singled to center in the first inning. And checking in. The Pirates in April were 3rd in the National League in scoring runs. 1st in hits, 1st in doubles, 2nd in walks, 4th in stolen bases. In fact, in April, they scored 9 or more runs 4 times. First pitch lifted to right field. It's playable. Reddick running parallel to the track, now on the track, and makes the catch in front of the visiting bullpen. So Marte, a long fly ball to right, 1 away, and here comes Andrew McCutchen. When you look, and we don't want to belabor the point, after all, he's here and he's a marvelous player, but wherever he goes, everybody's wondering what happened with Andrew McCutchen. Big home runs 4 years ago, 31 home runs, 23 last year, 15 this year. Runs batted in 4 years ago, 96, 45 right now. Batting average 4 years ago, 327, hitting 242. Stolen bases 4 years ago. 20 this year. 4. He hits a drive to right field. Reddick going back on this one to the track, right about at the wall. Leaps up and hits the top of the wall and leaps into the stands. Not Reddick, the ball. And just like that, it's 4-1 in favor of the Pirates. So he hit the top of the wall, which is slanted a little bit. And instead of coming back, I mean, it jumped 20 feet in the air. So McCutchen showing that things aren't as bad as it seemed earlier in the year. He has 16 home runs now, and he is 2 for 2, scoring twice and knocking in 2. Of course, it's only right. You see an angry Reddick. It was so close and yet so far away. The greatest visiting hitter to ever come to Dodger Stadium was a Pirate, and his name Roberto Clemente. So McCutchen leading the pack. He's hitting better than .320 at Dodger Stadium this year, despite all of his struggles. He's quite a player. So Polanco struck out in the first inning. Big left-hand batter. 4-1 Pittsburgh in the third. Stripling comes back, and that's lifted into shallow center. Seager out, Peterson in. It's Peterson. So 2 out in the third, and David Freese coming up.
23, David Freese.
So David Freese, he singled to short in the first inning. 11 home runs, 46 runs batted in. McCutchen has knocked in 2, Freese 1, and Jordy Mercer an RBI. That's high, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Freese had his greatest moments with the St. Louis Cardinals, and especially in the World Series. 1-0 pitch on the way. Breaking ball on the outside corner. Good slider. 1 ball and 1 strike. Stripling ready. Ross's 1-1 pitch. Slider again for a strike. 1-2. The Giants' opponent tonight, Baltimore, they lead the majors in home runs with 173. How many triples do they have? 3. Here's the 1-2 pitch low, but they can hit it out of any ballpark. They have 89 home runs at Camden Yards, 84 on the road, including one by Mark Trumbo tonight. Baltimore leading the Giants 4-0 in the third inning. 2-2 fouled off. 4 singles for 3 runs in the first inning, and the home run by McCutchen now makes it 4-1 Pittsburgh. When the Dodgers come up in the third, Utley, Seager, and Turner. McCutchen cooling off, and the 2-2 pitch on the way. Outside fastball, a little late action to it. 3-2 the count to David Freese. Jordy Mercer on deck. Ross checking. Right-hander ready. 3-2 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled off. All right, they'll try it again. Freese waiting on a 3-2 pitch. Stripling into the windup. Here he comes. Fastball fouled away upstairs off to the right. So they're pitching him away, and in many ways that's part of his strength. He drives that ball to right field about as hard as anybody in the game. Freese waiting. Here comes Stripling again, and it's fouled away off to the right. Freese, you remember, played briefly with the Angels after that great career he had in St. Louis. Three and two. Right-hander Stripling delivers, swung on and missed. So Freese strikes out. However, McCutchen did not. McCutchen homers off the top of the right field wall, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 4-1 Pittsburgh. The stands, the Pirates now lead 4-1, and in the bottom of the third, it'll be Utley, Seager, and Turner in that order. Remember, the Dodgers have been whumped by Pittsburgh of late. From 2001 to 2013, Dodgers really had their way, beating Pittsburgh 67 times over that stretch. Utley takes off the plate, ball one. However, the worm hasn't turned. The Pirates are not worms, anything but. They've turned the tables on the Dodgers. 13-4 the last couple of years. Won 5 out of 6 from the Dodgers last year, and they won 3 out of 4 against them late in June. Big curveball in for a strike, and they count 1-1. We were talking about that curveball at the start of the game. That is a #1 strikeout pitch for Ivan Nova. Big right-hander at 6'5", comes with a fastball banged into right field. Over the plate on a hop is Polanco. So Utley, a long fly ball to left and a line drive single to right. Again, remember we told you that note about Nova. The difference of 1 day's rest. And that 1 day's rest might cause him a lot of trouble. Instead of 4 days, 5. And an ERA of over 8. So here is Seager. He singled to left field on the first pitch in the first inning. Well, Utley didn't hang around. So we'll see now about Seager. And a throw to first. Utley back on the bag. Corey Seager hit by that pitch on Wednesday. In his last 3 games, forget about tonight, 6 for 12. A double and 2 home runs. Well, he's 1 for 1 tonight. That makes him 7 for 13. Utley bluffs the pitch, a strike, and the count 0-1. Utley does not steal bases. Usually he's part of a hit and run play. He has 1 stolen base. The strike 1 pitch on the way. Here comes the pitch, and it is inside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dodgers since the 27th of June. That was the last game that they played the Pirates just before going to Milwaukee. And since that date, they're 23-14. That ties with Washington for the best record in the National League. 1-1 pitch coming up to Corey Seager. Nova set, ready, delivers, fouled away down the left field line, out of play. Dodgers are hoping that Brandon McCarthy will pitch on Saturday. He had a bullpen yesterday. If he can't go, they say Julio Urias. Brandon has had 2 good pens, so it looks like he's good for making a start tomorrow. Nova ready. Another look at Utley. Short lead over there. And the 1-2 pitch swung on, lifted down the left field line. Marte coming over in the corner to make the catch. Utley tags on his way to second base. He is out at second. Utley doesn't say anything to the second base umpire. Marte points as if to say, don't try to steal on me. Bob Guerin is on the phone to see if they're going to appeal. In fact, Utley is still standing on the bag. The corners of Chase's mouth were down, and he was looking up at the second base umpire, shook his head as if saying no. The tag by Harrison, the second baseman, got there ahead of Utley, but the tag was high and late. I think they give him the bag. Harrison did not go for the easy tag. I think Utley fooled him a little bit with the leg work. Now the umpires are standing in position. If they look at that, I would hazard a guess that he might be safe. But it's a question, are the Dodgers going to ask them to look at it? And Dave Roberts says no. And now Utley leaves off the field. Well, I'll tell you what, from up here, looking at the tag, was a nice throw by Marte, but the tag, watch, not from that angle, the next one. You have another good one. I don't know if they saw all of them. Yeah, this one. There's the one leg. See how it's extended? That foot appeared to be on the bag before the tag. However, the world will little note nor long remember what took place tonight. So Seager flies to left. Utley is cut down trying to advance. And with 2 out, Turner up there 0 for 1. Turner takes it low, 2-0 the count. You know, through June 12th, would you believe Turner? He was hitting .221. Over the next 2 months, hitting .332. 2-0 pitch, swung on, hammered to center, base hit. Now catching up with it and gets it back. So I will say one thing, Nova is certainly not fooling people at all. So the Dodgers have to feel, even though they're down 4-1, they certainly have an open door as Josh Reddick comes up. So sure, you're right. If Utley was safe at second, he probably scores on the base hit, but he wasn't. So it's still 4-1 Pittsburgh. Reddick hit into a force play in the first inning, and he hits Nova pretty hard. Right-handed delivers and misses away, ball 1. Reddick over in the American League hit .385. 5 for 13, 2 doubles and 2 home runs against Nova. Meanwhile, Turner at first with 2 out. 1 ball and no strike. Fastball lifted to right field, waiting for Polanco, looking up into the night, has to backtrack a little and makes the catch for the out. No runs, 2 hits, a man left. And at the end of 3, 4-1 Pittsburgh. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box. Limited time only at participating restaurants. Fourth inning, 4-1 in favor of the Pirates. Great picture of Roberto Clemente, who among other things had 3,000 hits in his great career. A tremendous ball player, right fielder, had a great arm, and always complained physically. Manny Mota was with him for many years, and Mota makes you cry, imitating Clemente. Manny would say to Clemente, "How'd you sleep last night?" And Clemente would point to one eye and say, "This eye, it's no sleep, not even a little." And what do you mean? One eye wouldn't sleep and one did? Well, we got to talk to Manny about it, but that was Roberto apparently. Meanwhile, here's Jordy Mercer hit into a force play in the first inning. Ah, yes, great painting of Roberto as well. Good curveball for a strike. What an arm he had. Wow. Picture of Bill Mazeroski scoring the 1960 winning game, World Series winning run. Little nubber back to the box. One away. So Mercer goes down, and the batter now, Sean Rodriguez. You know who's on the Pirates now? Ryan Vogelsong. Remember Ryan? Pitched a lot with the Giants. Meanwhile, Sean John Rodriguez from Miami. Actually a third-round pick by the Angels out of high school. Came up and played with the Angels 2008, 2009. 6'1", 200, 31 years old. 1 ball and no strikes. And a towering fly ball going back on it is Peterson. He has a play. So 2 down in the 4th inning on that long fly ball. And there's Ryan Vogelsong wearing that hood. Ryan Vogelsong would be 39 now. 6'4", 215. Originally drafted by the Giants back in 1998. And here he is. He was originally with the Pirates once upon a time, way back in 2003. Stayed with him through 06, and then bounced around up and down in the Giant organization. So we have 2 down, 4th inning, 4-1 in favor of the Pirates. Eric Fryer grounded to short, 0 for 1. That's hit foul. Pirates scored 4 hits for 3 runs in the first inning. McCutchen homered in the 3rd. The Dodgers got 1 back. Peterson doubled and Kendrick singled him in, but McCutchen's the man with a single and a home run. Andrew McCarthy tomorrow against Garrett Cole, the pride of UCLA. Anderson and Cool on Sunday. 1-2 pitch. Fastball up. Two to Fryer. He hesitates and takes strike 3. He started his swing, thought better of it, and down he goes. He who hesitates strikes out. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 4-1 Pittsburgh. 4-1 in favor of Pittsburgh. You know how we talk, and all of us talk about the Dodgers starters and how many starters they've used so far this year, etc. If you can believe it, the Pirates have gotten 70 starts from just 4 pitchers. But the ERAs of the pitchers are shocking. 4.9, 4.9, 5.4, 5.6. Garrett Cole, whom we see, has an earned run average of 2.9, but because of injuries, Garrett's only made 17 starts. And that's something. 70 starts from 4 pitchers, and all of them have bad ERAs. Adrian Gonzalez grounded out in the second inning. 0 for 1. Fastball lifted to left. Late start by Marte. Think he might have lost that up in the lights for a split second. See that face as if he just tasted something sour. It was the lights. 1 away. Well, the Dodgers are losing 4-1, and the Orioles are beating the Giants 4-1. Denard Span got an RBI double to get the Giants on the scoreboard. Here's Grandal, who was furious at the gods for letting McCutchen make a sensational catch on a ball that was hit so hard. All McCutchen did was take 1 step in, and that almost cost him the play. And then going back, well, it's the old you had to see it to believe it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Andrew McCutchen, incredible catch. And boy, was that ball scorched. 1-1. 2-1. Peterson on deck. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Pirates. 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Pirates have beaten the Dodgers 3 out of 4 earlier this year in Pittsburgh. Ball 3. Ivan Nova. 6'5", 235 pounds from the Dominican. High fly ball going back for it is Marte on the track and makes the catch. So Grandal with so much power, even the outs are long. So we have 2 down, and the batter will be Jock Peterson. Peterson doubled to left field. Then came home on the single by Howie Kendrick. Jock 16 home runs, 47 runs batted in. Interesting in looking at what Yasmani Grandal has been doing as the first pitch to Peterson, and he hammers that thing to right center. McCutchen on the run is going to have to play it off the wall. Into second base goes Jock with a 1-hop double off the right center field wall. So it comes with 2 out. It brings up Kendrick again, and we'll see now whether Clint Hurdle decides to put Kendrick on and try to get the pitcher. So Peterson 2 for 2 with another double. The first one to left, this one to center. So keep an eye on Fryer as to see whether they do pitch. Fryer looks over and then settles into a crouch. So they're going to try Kendrick again, who singled home Peterson in the second inning with 2 out. You have the pitcher Ross Stripling on deck. Nova is not fooling the Dodger hitters. They have a half a dozen hits against them. And some hard outs. Breaking ball strike, 0-1. Nova had his surgery April the 30th, 2014. Hurdle wants to go head-to-head with Howie Kendrick. 1-1. We were talking a moment ago about Yasmani Grandal. He's reached base safely in each of his last 21 starts. That's going back to July 8th. Over that stretch, he's been tearing them up. 18 RBIs, 9 home runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kendrick tired of waiting. Two out. 4-1 Pirates. Slow breaking ball for a strike. 1-2. Nova talking about being a kid, and his dad managed a restaurant on the beach. Nova and his 4 brothers and sisters slept in the same bed after they worked the restaurant. 1-2. Breaking ball, grounded to third. Tough play. Bare hand juggle and no play. So David Freese unable to make the play. Second hit for Kendrick, and it'll bring up Ross Stripling. Here comes David, do or die. No chance. So it'll be an infield single. That means Peterson is 2 for 2. Kendrick is 2 for 2. The Dodgers now have 7 hits, but nothing really to show for it. 1 run. So here is Ross Stripling with Chase Utley on deck. We're in the 4th. First and third, 2 out. Fastball at 93. 0-1. Pirates are tough, and they are particularly tough, for whatever reason, against the Western Division. In the East, the Pirates are 11-12. Against the Central, 21-24, so under 500. But against the National League West, 17-10, and 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers. Jock Peterson gets back. 0-1 the count. See Peterson hustling down the line, but he's not coming. Nova off the rubber, didn't have to throw. 2 out. Breaking ball. No balls and 2 strikes to Ross Stripling. So Clint Hurdle is of the old school, and it's an expression. He would give up a walk to the number 8 hitter as he would give up a tattoo. And each time Kendrick has faced the challenge, doubled in a run, and then a single to send Peterson to third with 2 out in the 4th. Meanwhile, Stripling strikes out. Down he goes. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. And at the end of 4, it's 4-1 Pirates. brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota's annual clearance event is here. Save big on the entire 2016 Prius family. Hurry in today. The date, September the 30th, 1956. Dodgers had just beaten Pittsburgh to win the National League pennant. That's Clem Labine pouring a beer over the cap on the head of Duke Snider. And if you look between Snider's hat and Labine's right arm, that's Charlie Neal, who played here so well, basically at second base. There's a classic of Snider and Newcomb wearing hats after winning the World Series in 1955. We'll dig that out for you one time. Meanwhile, fifth inning, Ivan Nova, Josh Harrison, and Starling Marte, and that's a strike, 0-1. And 2. Marte getting in the number 2 slot, singled and fly deep to center. Harrison leading off is 1 for 2, and Nova 0 for 1 with a 2-strike count. And that'll do it. Having spent a good part of the year in the American League, not much he can do swinging the bat. So you catch a double feature at Dodger Stadium tomorrow. Dodgers and Pirates at 1:05, and after, watch the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, courtesy of Fandango. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/movies. 4 strikeouts for Ross Stripling. Josh Harrison singled and grounded out. Infield single, scored a run in the first inning and hits one down the right field line. Reddick coming over to the track at the wall makes the catch. Josh Reddick takes a home run away from Josh Harrison. Beautiful play by Reddick. Harrison can't believe it. He wants to watch it again on Diamond Vision. You can watch it again. Ball's carrying well. Josh makes it as he hits the railing. Big play. So instead of 5-1, it's 4-1. Looks like a football player having scored a touchdown and the fans beating him on the back. That's a strike to Starling Marte. It's worth yet another look. Yeah, that would have carried into the seats, although that lady would never have known. She turned her back. Big play by Reddick. Second strike to Marte. Gold Glove a couple of years ago for Josh. And Josh Harrison can't believe it. That's going to be a pop fly. Seager going out, coming in. Look out at Howie Kendrick to make the catch. Boy, that could have been dangerous. So down go the Bucks, 1-2-3, and we're going to the bottom of the 5th. 4-1 Pittsburgh. 1. Jock Peterson sitting alongside of Josh Reddick, who just took that home run away from Josh Harrison. And in the bottom, it'll be the top of the order. Utley, Seager, Turner. Dodgers have to feel they still have a very good chance against Nova. They have at least one hit in every inning. And make it yet another. So Utley walks up, bangs it to left center. Marte gets it back in. So certainly Nova is not a puzzle, not by any means. Utley now is 2 for 3. And the Dodgers have 8 hits, but only 1 run so far. Corey Seager single to left and fly deep to left. 306, 21 home runs, 55 runs batted in. Giants are losing 4-1. Dodgers losing 4-1. That's going to be a little fly ball down the left field line. Slicing, just foul, and out of play. I think if it were a fair ball, Marte might have caught it. Third base umpire Gabe Morales indicating foul. Corey coming back, checking with Chris Woodward on his way. Dodgers trying to win their 65th game, one behind the Giants. Dave Roberts hoping to see them come back, and certainly they've shown signs. They're not being fooled by Nova at all. 1-1. McCarthy and Cole, Garrett Cole, the pride of UCLA, tomorrow. And then Brett Anderson against Kuhl, Kuhl. And there'll nothing be cool about the weekend except the Pirate pitcher. High fly ball into left center. McCutchen is there. And back to first goes Utley. So 1 away, and the batter Justin Turner. And of course Turner, we told you, has been truly remarkable ever since coming to the Dodgers. And right now, since the 13th of June, he has the highest slugging percentage. Turner's above Dozier, Freeman, Lamb, and Donaldson. So Justin has turned out to be a great find for the Dodgers. He had a 10-game hitting streak that came to an end Wednesday when he struck out in a pinch hitting appearance. Last 11 games he's been red hot. That's ball 1. Last 11, Justin's been hitting .326, 10 extra base hits in his last 11 games. Today, fly to left, single to center. Peterson is 2 for 2. Kendrick is 2 for 2. Utley is 2 for 2. Seager and Turner a base hit each, and yet they have just 1 run. And ball 2. 2-0. Big boy from Palenque in the Dominican Republic. And he is big, 6'5", 235. Last year with the Yankees, he was 6-11 in the dirt. And he had that one great year, 2011, when he was 16-4. All right, 3-0 the count. Josh Reddick on deck. Possible tying run on deck. 3-0 to Turner. In there with a fastball, 3-1. Nova has pitched out of a stretch since the second batter in the first inning. Been standing room only for the Dodgers, but they're not able to get but 1 home. 3-1 to Justin Turner. Fastball on the hands to the shortstop for 1. For first, not in time. Ball was not hit very hard. Force play goes 5-4. That takes Utley off the base path. And it brings up Josh Reddick with Turner aboard. Josh Reddick hit into a force play, fly deep to right, and of course made that great catch on the ball hit by Harrison in the top of the inning. And big overhand curveball, but it misses. Ball 1. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Just off the plate. 2-0. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Pirates. 1 run, 8 hits for the Dodgers. Fastball hit foul off to the left. 2-1. They do not have the overshift, but they certainly have the second baseman, Josh Harrison, in shallow right field. The shortstop, that's Mercer, still on the other side of the bag. 2 down. 2-1 the count. Turner at first. Turner has stolen 3 out of 4. 2-1 pitch. And that's hammered to left center, slicing, and coming over to catch it is Marte. So one of those room service balls. It comes to you. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. Josh Reddick fit to be tied. And at the end of 5, 4-1, Pittsburgh. Oh, it was a sweet day for Dodger fans, both Brooklyn and Los Angeles. First of all, Don Drysdale with all of his honors. He went in. And also the Veterans Committee, they selected Harold Pee Wee Reese, the Dodger captain for all those years in Brooklyn. They were singing from coast to coast on that particular day. Let's go back to this one. 1 ball and no strikes to Andrew McCutchen. Well, this is one place as we look at Harold Pee Wee Reese, a sketch of him, the captain. I don't think I have ever seen a player who had to carry what he carried. I mean, he was the captain of the team, but he was also the counselor. If there was either a veteran going badly or a rookie troubled, he would go to Pee Wee and Pee Wee would talk to him. And if that player's wife or girlfriend was having a problem, well, they would go to Pee Wee's wife. Yeah. 1 ball and 1 strike. And that slap to right field going back as Reddick makes the play. So McCutchen, who singled and homered, lines out to right. 1 down.
Right fielder Gregory Polanco.
Gregory Polanco struck out, fly to center, 0 for 2. Polanco, 277, hitting cleanup, 16 home runs, 60 runs batted in. Pirates would be pretty close in the Central. They have trouble beating the Cubs. Of course, so does everybody else. Cubs won again, so they've won 11 straight. Going head to head, Cubs have beaten Pittsburgh 9 of 12. So that's one big reason why they're 15 games back. Meanwhile, up north, Giants aren't doing any well either. Baltimore 4, Giants 1, top of the 5th. We're in the top of the 6th. 4-1, Pittsburgh. It is amazing, isn't it? It seems like they repeat what the other does. If the Giants lose, Dodgers lose. The Giants win, Dodgers win, and they stay always within 1 or 2 of each other. And talking about the Giants, don't forget, when the Dodgers leave, they'll go to Philadelphia and Cincinnati, and then what a week. From August 23rd through the 25th with the Giants, 26th through the 28th with the Cubs. That's one of the great weeks all year. Line drive right at the right foot of Adrian Gonzalez for the out. 2 down.
Third baseman David Freese.
Adrian will be leading off the next inning. Freese hitting .284, 11 home runs, 46 runs batted in. He singled a short and struck out, and he's probably hit half a dozen foul balls to the right side in his 2 at-bats. This time he pulls the ball. Turner is on it, and that'll be that. Nice inning for Ross Stripling. Stripling has retired 3, 6, 9, 11 since the home run by McCutchen, and it's 4-1 Pittsburgh. LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. That's Ron Cey sliding into third base against the Bucks, Game 2 of the 1974 National League Championship Series. Number 3, Richie Hebner, who was playing third base at the time, unable to make the tag. Adrian Gonzalez takes a strike. Adrian grounded out, flied out 0 for 2. Stripling has given the Dodgers a good 6 innings, even though they roughed him up for 3 runs in the first inning. And this time McCutchen unable to make the catch on Gonzalez. Backed up by Polanco, and it gets into second base. So Gonzalez, a line drive double, eluding McCutchen. Take another look. Looked like he might catch it there, but couldn't. It did hit his glove. Just off the fingertips. Timeout now. Ray Searage, the pitching coach, going out to talk to Nova. As we mentioned, Nova has not fooled one Dodger hitter. Pirates are winning 5-1, but the Dodgers have 9 hits with their 1 run. So it's not like he's doing some great job at all. Ray Searage had a long career, 17 years. He was in 9 organizations. Ray Searage was in the Dodger organization way back in 1988. That was the great year, but he was in the bullpen in Albuquerque the great year. Then he came over when the deed had already been done. Ray Searage, 61 years old. Antonio Bastardo used to be with Philadelphia. He's warming up now in the Pirate bullpen. So 1 out. Grandal up there trying to pick up Gonzalez. Four runs, 5 hits for the Pirates, 1 run, 9 hits for the Dodgers. Away. The Orioles had Chris Davis hit a solo home run. Matt Cain has been removed. George Contos now pitching for the Giants. 5-1 Baltimore, top of the 5th inning. 1-1. Ball 2, 2-1. Really, even though the Dodgers have been behind since the first inning, I guarantee you they feel to a man that they will chase Nova. 9 hits in 5 innings plus. 2-1. Good breaking ball. Jesse Chavez is warming up in the Dodger bullpen. Bastardo in the Pirate pen. Ross Stripling went 6 innings at least. Made 82 pitches so far. Two and 2. Pulled foul. Actually, in the first inning, where the Pirates scored 3 on 4 hits, 2 of the base hits were ground balls that got into Seager's glove. One he double clutched. The other one he charged and then had no play. So Stripling was very unlucky in the first inning. 2 and 2. Fastball, pop fly really to McCutchen. He was out there waiting for it. Nowhere for Gonzalez to go. So 1 away, and Jock Peterson coming up.
Center fielder, Jock Peterson.
So Grandal going back. He was robbed. Hit the ball so hard. Great play by McCutchen. Then hit a long ball to left field. Marte caught it at the wall. This time just a fly ball. So Peterson has double to left and double to right center. And now here comes the pilot of the Pirates. And Clint making his way to the mound. And that will do it for Ivan Nova. Clint's not going to let him stay in there until they catch him. But he sure hasn't fooled very many people. He goes 5 1/3, goes out leading 4-1. He's gone the required 5 to pick up a victory. We'll be right back. Dodgers.com/promotion. Well, Ivan Nova, and we told you this at the very beginning of the game, when he pitches on 4 days rest, he's great. When he pitches on 5 days rest, his earned run average is over 8. Well, it was a 5-day rest, and he barely got by 5 1/3. The way the Dodgers were hitting him, he was very fortunate that he only gave up 1 run, at least for the moment. Gonzalez at second base is his responsibility. The left-hander Antonio Bastardo from Hatomayor in the Dominican Republic. Used to be with the Phillies for years, and now without leaving the state, he's in Pittsburgh. From the Phillies, then the Mets earlier this year, and now Pittsburgh. Breaking ball in the dirt. Ball 1-1-0. Jock Peterson with 2 doubles scored a run. They left him at third in the 4th inning. Dodgers have Pedro Baez and Jesse Chavez in the pen. There they are. 1 ball and no strikes. Bastardo 5'11", 195. He'll be 31 in September. Ball 2, 2-0. Signed with the Phillies back in 2005. The Mets signed him to a 2-year deal in January, and then in August, the Pirates sent Jonathan Neese to the Mets, acquiring Bastardo. 2-0. Boy, what a swing. Peterson almost falling down. Bastardo, as you can see, doing very well in the Pirate bullpen since the 23rd of June. Basically, fastball, slider, changeup. 2-1. No pitch. At least last year, the book says Bastardo used his four-seamer 65% of the time, then the slider, and then the change. 2-1. In on the hands. 3-1. Bastardo, they say, is a fly ball pitcher. Also a pretty good strikeout pitcher. He strikes out about 30% of the hitters that he has faced in his career. But he also walks more batters than most. And Howie Kendrick waits on deck. 4-1 Pirates. Dodgers have Gonzalez at second, 1 out. Peterson fooled on that pitch. 3-2. So Antonio Bastardo, a much traveled pitcher who started way back in 2006, worked his way up to the Phillies, making a lot of stops along the way. Then he was with Philadelphia 5 straight years before going from the Phillies to the Pirates to the Mets and back to the Pirates. 3-2 to Jock Peterson. Got him. An angry Jock Peterson cracks his bat, bangs it in the dirt. 2 big breaking balls way off the plate. No chance to hit that. So Jock, second out in the inning. Bastardo picks up a big strikeout, but now he has a bigger mountain to climb. Howie Kendrick. Kendrick double, single. Peterson has to disappear to cool off. Fastball fouled away. Pretty good pitch. Location, it was away, right around the plate. So Howie couldn't afford to take it. Hitting a solid .272. Rob Seguin is out on deck. He would bat for Stripling if given a chance. 0-1. Bastardo plenty of time. Of course, it's an important spot for him. Picking up for Nova with a runner at second and 1 out. He struck out Peterson. Now working on Kendrick with second and waiting. No balls and 1 strike. 0-2. Looking at Bastardo's numbers coming over to Pittsburgh, he's been in 5 games. 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Before that, with Philly, 22 walks, 48. So 2-1. 0-2 the count to Howie Kendrick. And now Fry going out there to talk to Bastardo. Eric Fryer having the catch. He is the number 3 hitter when Pittsburgh comes up in the 7th inning. Remember, we told you how smart Fryer is. Magna cum laude. Meanwhile, Clint checking the chart. Fryer trying to help out, think his way out. Kendrick waiting, trying to pick up Gonzalez, who doubled off McCutcheon's glove, leading off here in the 6th. Kendrick asking for time. Oh, and 2. Fastball. Located it pretty well. Again, away and down. So a couple of veterans battling it out, Bastardo and Kendrick. 2 out, 0-2 the count. Gonzalez at second. Another fastball in the dirt, gets away, and over to third goes Gonzalez. So he's been pitching fastball down and away, and that one got away. So 1-2 the count. In the dirt off the right hip of Fryer. So we'll assume wild pitch unless we hear otherwise, but that certainly looked wild. Clint, when things were tough in Colorado, he had a bad habit. I'll say bad for one reason. He would get a baseball and he would bounce it on the floor up and down. And a lot of people thought it was just another Captain Queeg with the little balls in the hand. And that bouncing the ball really unnerved the players, and he's given it up. 1-2. Fastball away. Well, it's a big battle now. Location. Is he going to keep staying, or is he going to try and come inside and jam him? 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Gonzalez at third. 4-1 Pittsburgh. 6th inning. And fouled at the plate. So Howie's still there. And another fastball. That was down as opposed to being away. So Peterson went 3-2 and struck out. Kendrick goes 2-2. And Bastardo ready to make his 13th pitch. Away, and a little ground ball to Harrison. So Bastardo just kept pitching away, and finally Howie went after it and rolled to second base. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. Nova feels happy about things, and at the end of 6, 4-1 Pittsburgh. Love got a hat full of dreams, and we go to the 7th inning, 4-1 in favor of the Pirates. Ross Stripling will be facing Jordy Mercer, Sean Rodriguez, and Eric Fryer, and that's ball 1 to the young kid from Taloga, Oklahoma. Population 299. When his graduating class, Grant, in 2005, he was part of 7 members of his high school class. 7 members. So Mercer has come a long way from playing on a farm in Tologa. Two and one. And he drives it to left field. Going back on the ball is Kendrick. This one is gone. So a fellow with 6 high school classmates hits a home run. It is 5-1 Pittsburgh. McCutchen also homered back in the 3rd inning. They throw the ball back out of the pavilion. Doesn't make any difference to Mercer and the Bucks. Five runs and 6 hits for the Pirates. Kendrick just looking up forlornly as the ball disappeared. Now the batter is Rodriguez. Pirates are not a power hitting team. They have a total of 105 home runs, including tonight. Dodgers have 131. But Mercer hits it. 7th home run for him. So he can call all of his 6 classmates. Tell them, hey, I hit a home run. That's such a different world from me, for instance. Raised in the streets of New York. Shot back a third, backhanded by Turner. Wonderful play to take an extra base hit away from Sean Rodriguez. Growing up in a 5th floor walk-up apartment, if I looked out the window, I saw one of 2 things. I either saw a clothesline or another window. And then I think of someone growing up in Tologa, Oklahoma. We had that many people, I think, in the apartment house. Wow. Eric Fryer has grounded out, struck out, little comebacker, Stripling over to Gonzalez, 2 down. Bastardo was due up, but he is not going to come up. John Jasso will come up. Jasso, 4 home runs, 27 runs batted in. Pronunciation really is Jaso.
Consider number 28, John Jaso.
So John Jaso checking in. Jaso is from Chula Vista and McKinleysville. 6'2", 205-pounder. He'll be 33. Off speed for a strike. John Edward Jaso, originally signed by the Rays in 2003. John Edward has been up with the Rays several times. Little fly ball straight away center. Peterson is there. And a nice inning despite for that home run. Certainly Stripling has given 7. And at the end of 6½, 5-1 Pirates. This homestand, not much. But tomorrow afternoon with the Pirates, Sunday afternoon, and then the Dodgers hit the road on Monday. They will go, first of all, starting off as we run through the end of August. They'll go to Philadelphia for 3, Cincinnati for 4, and then the Giants and the Cubs right here at Dodger Stadium. And right here, right now, a new pitcher, Felipe Javier Rivera. He's from Venezuela, 6'2", 195. He's got a few years on him. Rivera originally signed by the Rays back in 2008. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Kike Hernandez batting for Stripling. And ball 1. Dodger bullpen, Jesse Chavez up again. Kike trying to get something started, half a dozen home runs. Rob Segedin is out on deck. Fastball foul back, and fastball at 97. Hello. So Stripling goes 7, gives up 5. Was very unlucky in the first inning. Then he gave up a home run to McCutchen, home run to Mercer. The home run by Mercer broke a long string of outs. 1-1. 1-2. He gave up a home run to McCutchen and then retired 11 in a row and then gave up the home run to Mercer. So 5-1 Pittsburgh. Jordy Mercer with the 6 classmates from high school. I can't get over that. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-2. That sounds like something out of the Little House on the Prairie, or little teeny schoolhouse with 7 students. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fastball and a good one again, 97. Wow. So down goes Kike.
It's hitter number 25, Rob Segedin.
Ross Segedin will now bat for Utley. What will probably happen, Segedin will stay in, play third. Howie Kendrick might move to second. They might keep Kike in the game. We'll have to wait and see. A lot of possibilities here. Segedin batting 300. 0-1. Felipe Javier Rivera just comes in and calmly hits 97 on the gun. The Nationals traded Felipe for Melanson, though the Pirates traded away their closer for this fella and another pitcher named Taylor Hearn. Taylor Hearn is not with the club right now. So Melanson was such a good closer. A lot of people wondered, here the Pirates in contention at least for a wild card. But I guess they feel that this fellow will replace Melanson. We'll see. 0-2. Way outside with a changeup. .6'2", 195. Meanwhile, Ross Stripling looks on. 2 home run balls hurt him, plus that first inning where he was somewhat unlucky. And that had a little sink to it. So all Rivera does come in and strikes out. Kike, now Segedin, and it'll be Seager. Bottom just got out of that thing.
Seager.
2 out, 7th inning, and here is Seager. Dodgers have 9 hits. They've had at least 1 hit in every inning, but they've come up blank so far against Rivera. The Orioles are leading the Giants 5-1, wouldn't you know it, in the 7th inning. That's a little fly ball to left. Marte will have to play it on a bounce. So Seager comes up with 2 singles, 2 for 4, and Turner coming up.
Third baseman number 10, Justin Turner.
Dodgers now have 10 hits to the Pirates 6, but the score is 5-1 the other way. Justin Turner flied to left, single to center, hit into a force play, 1 for 3, as Chase Utley somber-like looking on. Kendrick, however, he's full of life. Fastball late, 97. 0-1. 6'2", 195. Throws very easily from San Felipe in Venezuela. Fastball strike, and at 98. They say he's a ground ball machine. Well, so far he has struck out 2 and given up a fly ball single. No balls, 2 strikes. Fastball. So 97, and now he's had 2 in a row at 98. They say he is still revolving and he needs to repeat his mechanics. He's still a very intriguing commodity. He throws so hard. 0-2. Looked like an off-speed pitch. Fair ball, now foul. And it sure was, from 98 to 81. 0-2 to Justin Turner. Josh Reddick on deck. Turner 1 for 3, Reddick 0 for 3. Just a little low. 1-2. I guess that was his changeup. I mean, he's throwing fastballs 98. Curveball is anywhere around 82 to 85. 1-2. High chopper up the middle. Harrison comes across the bag and gets him. So the second baseman on the shortstop side of the bag winds up getting the assist. No runs, 1 hit. Hello there, sunshine. Isn't it great to be out here? And Mom is right nearby. And I mean, I can just laugh and everybody loves me. It's just great. Following the Dodgers, the starters don't hang around too long, about 5 innings, 5 1/3 mostly. So the bullpen since the 27th of June piling up 155 and 2/3 innings. That's the biggest reason why. Not that they pitched a lot of innings, but they've done such a great job. That's why the Dodgers are 23 and 14 because of the bullpen. And they go to the pen again. Jesse Chavez picking up for Ross Stripling, who made 92 pitches. It'll be Josh Harrison to start it all. Then Starling Marte and Andrew McCutchen, and that's ball 1. PK playing second base and staying 9th. The pitcher will be in the leadoff spot. 2-0 the count. Pirates got 3 in the first inning. Then McCutchen homered in the 3rd. And then Mercer homered in the 7th. And here we are in the 8th. 5-1 Pirates. Trying to beat the Dodgers 4 out of 5 this year, having already beaten them 5 out of 6 last year. A drive to center. Peterson is there. 1 away. Harrison losing a home run in the 5th inning on that great play by Josh Reddick. So 1 out. Reddick, you remember, leaning right into the stands in right field to make the catch, take a home run away from Harrison. Now Starling Marte, single to center, fly to right, fly to left, hitting .315. Right, 0-1. Marte 6'2", 180. Last year, Marte had 42 go-ahead or game-winning RBIs. This year, just 11. So he's fallen away a little bit like McCutchen. However, McCutchen tonight has a single, stolen base, and a home run. That's a strike. Oh, now, what a world. I can look right at my father's ear. Wow. 1-2. 2-2. Starling Marte. Starling, Starling, from Santo Domingo. Ground ball up with it. So 2 down here in the 8th inning. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th, Reddick, Gonzalez, and Grandal. Marte, annoyed at himself, hit the ball reasonably hard, but with Turner at the other end of it, you figure to be out. Well, they're in the bottom of the 7th inning up north. Orioles 5, Giants 1. Well, here's McCutchen. Single to left, stole a base, scored a run. Homered in the 3rd inning. Fly to right field in the 6th. He had so many great years that as soon as he has an off year, it's like a catastrophe in Pittsburgh. 2012, 31 home runs, 96 RBIs, hitting .327. Next year, 21, 84, 317. 2 years ago, 25 home runs, 83 RBIs, and he hit .314. Last year, 23 home runs, 96 RBIs. But all of a sudden he comes here, 15 home runs, 44 RBIs, averaging well over 300 the last 4 years, and he hits .242. 2-1. What it proves is, first of all, there are human beings playing this game. They're not machines. And it is such a very hard game to play. Really hard. And as the players say, it's hard to get here. It's even harder to stay. McCutchen will be 30. And down he goes, strike 3. He'll be 30 in October. So it's a very quiet 8th inning. The Bucks go 1-2-3, and we head for the bottom of the 8th. 5-1 Pittsburgh. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers. Bottom of the 8th inning, 5-1 in favor of the Pirates. Neftali Antonio Feliz, originally signed by the Braves back in 2005, came up with the Rangers. His first year with the Rangers, his earned run average was 1.7. Eventually, from the Rangers, after a good long time with them, he went to Detroit last year, and now with the Pirates. So, Neftali Feliz from Azua in the Dominican Republic. Born in 1988, 6'3", 225-pounder. Fastball strike, and the count 0-1. Reddick hit into a force play, fly deep to right, fly to left. Oh, and 2. Feliz with those hot dog spikes. They kind of jump out at you as you look down on the field. Orange and black. Fastball cuffed down the left field line. Marte on the grass makes a catch. So Reddick, a fly ball to left. He goes 0 for 4. One down in the 8th. Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
First baseman number 23.
Feliz, by the way, besides wearing those hot dog shoes, was the 2010 American League Rookie of the Year. He beat out Tigers outfielder Austin Jackson, 20 of 28 first place votes. Fouled away, 0-1. Oh, and 2. Feliz, back in 2010, when he was with the Rangers, he had 40 saves. 40. And a great ERA of 2.7. Fastball fouled away, throwing at 96. He had some surgery, and before the surgery, he was throwing 100. He had Tommy John surgery, and he has come back to throw hard. No balls, 2 strikes. Ball 1. Gonzalez 1 for 3. Little ground ball to first. Tricky hop. Fair ball. 2 down. The Dodgers have had at least 1 hit in every inning. Now they have 2 out, nobody on, and Grandal coming up. Grandal crushed the ball in the 2nd inning. I don't think he can hit it harder. It fooled McCutchen, who took 2 steps in, then turned on his horse and extending his gloved arm as far as he could. He made an unbelievable catch before going to the wall. McCutchen also made a diving try on a ball hit by Gonzalez, but here's the one with McCutchen. It's over his head, somehow tumbles full extension in order to get it, losing his balance, stayed with it. Great play in center field. It's always harder on the road. You just don't know the territory, even though he's been coming here a lot. 1 ball and 1 strike to Grandal. Josh Peterson on deck. Dodger run came in the 2nd inning with 2 out. Peterson doubled. Kendrick got him home with a base hit. High fly ball to right field, playable. Polanco is there. So down go the Dodgers in the 8th, 1, 2, 3, and at the end of 8, for the first time, they don't come up with a hit, and they trail 5-1. Baseball live with the MLB.com at Bat app. That's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Well, we have reached the 9th inning. It's all Pittsburgh. They scored 3 in the first. Hello, ladies. Then they picked up a run in the 3rd and another in the 7th. The only Dodger run came in the 2nd inning. 5 runs, 6 hits for the Bucks, 1 run, 10 hits for the Dodgers. Pirates with home runs by McCutchen and Mercer. The Dodgers with extra base hits. Peterson has a couple of doubles. So Jesse Chavez pitching the 9th inning. after setting them down in order in the 8th. Polanco, Freese, and Mercer in that order. Polanco struck out, fly to center, lined out to first. 16 home runs, 60 runs batted in. Polanco, Freese, Mercer. If anybody gets on, Rodriguez. Jesse about ready to go here in the 9th inning. Right, 0-1. Pirates off to a great start back in April and May, and then they kind of hit the skid. Pirate pitching in June, the starters' earned run average collectively was over 6, and the offense struggled as well. High fly ball down the right field line. Reddick coming over. So we have one out here in the 9th inning. The paid attendance tonight, 47,438. 47,438. Pirates are averaging 29,000 a game at home. The Dodgers, thanks to you folks, averaging a little over 45,000 a game. So here's David Freese. Freese single to short. Seager on the dead run trying to charge the ball, caught it by the mound, but it was in his glove and he had no play. Check swing for a strike. Since then, Freese struck out, grounded to third. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 9th, Jock Peterson, Howie Kendrick, and then Kike Hernandez. 0-2 off the plate. Dodgers one back of the Giants, and they're both suffering tonight. Giants are losing to Baltimore 5-1 in the bottom of the 8th inning. We're 5-1 Pittsburgh here in the 9th. Two and two. Fastball hit inside out. 2-2 the count to David Freese. Remember, the Bucks have not been playing well on the road at all. They've lost 8 of the last 10 on the road. So for Clint, trying to get a win tonight, be refreshing for them. Still 2-2 to David Freese. That's going to go up the middle for a base hit. So Freese is 2 for 4. And with one out, Jordy Murphy coming up.
Shortstop number 10, Jordy Mercer.
Clint, 130-0 when leading after the 8th inning since 2015. Of course, they had Melanson. Last time they lost was to the Cubs in April of last year. And looks like they have stocked up the bullpen again. Juan Nicasio is warming up. We've already seen Bastardo, Rivero, and Felice, and they've been more than a handful. 1 ball and no strikes to Jordy Mercer. Pirates only have 7 hits, but that's enough. That's a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to Jordy. Sean Rodriguez on deck. Dodgers will have Peterson, Kendrick, and Kike Hernandez due up last, batting 9th. Mercer at first base. He just has one stolen base. Freese is over there now. He does not have a stolen base. Fly ball to right field. Reddick is there for the second out. And the batter will be Sean Rodriguez, the first baseman.
First baseman, number
So the
3,
Pirates
Sean
don't do a
Rodriguez.
lot of running, but they have 3 men who run pretty well. Harrison, the second baseman, has stolen 15. Marte, the left fielder, has stolen 39. And Polanco, the right fielder, has stolen 11. They basically do the running. So 2 out. Freese at first. Rodriguez from Miami. Ball 1. Rodriguez plays a lot of positions: first base, second base, third base, and the outfield as well. Committed to play for Florida International University, but signed with the Angels instead. His father is a hitting coach in the Marlins minor league organization, and his brother was in the Expo organization years ago. Check swing. Johnny Rodriguez, Sean's father, used to throw batting practice to A-Rod. A-Rod calling it a career tonight, right? Was not starting, did not play third base. He was the DH, and I believe he picked up a run batted in his first at bat. What a career. 696 home runs. Way over 3,000 hits. They had a thunderstorm in New York. They had to cover the field for a while. Could not have been too much of a celebration. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, that'll do it for Rodriguez. No runs, 1 hit, a man left, 2 strikeouts for Chavez, and we're heading for the bottom of the 9th inning. 5-1 Pirates. Pirates, 5 runs, 7 hits, 1 run, 10 hits for the Dodgers. As we go to the bottom of the 9th, the Dodgers will have Peterson, Kendrick, and Kiki Hernandez, and Juan Nicasio, who was with the Dodgers briefly last year, will come in to try to close up in his 30th game. High earned run average, just around 5. Juan's been around. He is 30 years old, come up with the 31st of August, 6'4", 250 pounds. Born in San Francisco de Macorís, and originally signed with the Rockies in 2006. Finally came up in 2011. And of course, Clint was the manager with the Rockies, so he knows Nicasio very well. He grew up on a ranch. They farmed coffee and rice, tended to cows. So did Juan. He made his major league debut, went 7 innings, gave up 1 unearned run against the Cardinals back in 2011. So we'll see about him here against Jock Peterson, and starts with a strike. Peterson, 2 doubles and struck out. Nicasio is 8-6. He's already started 12 games. 35 walks, 102 strikeouts. So not quite, but almost 3-1. That's in there. Nova started, and as we mentioned, he was pitching on 5 days rest. He's much better on 4. So on 5 days rest, ERA over 8, and he gave up a whole bunch of hits, but only 1 run. Tony Watson, a left-hander, throwing up in the bullpen. Did I say throwing up in the bullpen? No. No, he's happy. He's just throwing. Oh boy, oh boy. 2-2 the count to Jock Peterson. Oh, we do say the strangest thing. And down goes Peterson.
1 out in the 9th. Left fielder, number 47.
Howie Kendrick. 2 singles and a ground ball, 2 for 3. Dodgers 1 run, 10 hits. Meanwhile, we can tell you the Orioles are beating the Giants 5-1 in the 9th inning. When you look at the Giants in a game like that and you see Matt Cain started and Jake Peavy relieved, you know they're struggling. They do have the big 3, Cueto, Samardzija, and Madison Bumgarner. Samardzija now is about break even as a pitcher. 1 ball and no strikes. So from the look at the way each team is playing, the Giants and the Dodgers, unless one club gets very, very hot, and they have 6 games left, they figure to go right down to the wire. Fastball, base hit. Starling Marte gets it back in. So Kendrick, batting 8th, has his 3rd hit of the game.
Second baseman, number 14.
Kike Hernandez coming up. It was pretty impressive tonight seeing Rivero and Felice, 2 young pitchers, come out of the Pirate bullpen, and they were throwing BBs. Hernandez in the 7th inning came up as a pinch hitter, and Rivero struck him out. In fact, he struck out 2. Chris Taylor is out on deck. He would be hitting for Chavez, who, remember, is in the leadoff role. Right. 0-1. So the 9th spot for the Dodgers occupied by Stripling and Kike. Not only 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts. Chris waits on deck. 0-1. Fastball missed. 1-1. Nicasio with the Dodgers in 50 some odd games had a pretty good ERA, 3.8. It's over a run higher now. 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, Nicasio can still bring it at 94. 1-2 the count. Nova, Bastardo, Rivero, Felice, and Nicasio. Stripling and Chavez for the Dodgers. Garrett Cole and Brandon McCarthy tomorrow afternoon. Brett Anderson returning to the battle. It'll be interesting first to see McCarthy as he suddenly had to fight for his control. And Brett Anderson coming back from surgery against Chad Michael Kuhl. 2-2. Well, down goes Kike. The old story, if you don't play, you can't play. So he comes off the bench, strikes out again. And with 2 out in the 9th, Chavez will give way to Chris Taylor.
Hitter number 3, Chris Taylor.
Taylor hitting .235. He has a home run, 7 RBIs. Seguin appeared as a pinch hitter. He struck out. Hernandez appeared as a pinch hitter, and he struck out. Stayed in the game to strike out. So we'll see about Taylor. 2 out, 9th inning, 5-1 Pittsburgh. They are really turning the tables on the Dodgers. That means they will have won 14 of the last 18 against the Dodgers. 5 out of 6 last year. 4 out of 5 so far this year. 1 ball and no strikes. By the way, we mentioned about A-Rod in his final game. I remember Joe Girardi saying, I don't want to play him at third because he hasn't worked at it, and we're still in it. But I understand, maybe as a farewell gesture, Girardi played A-Rod in the 9th inning at third base. A-Rod went 1 for 4, had an RBI, I believe, his first at bat, and the Yankees went on to beat Tampa Bay 6-3. 1-1. Another strike. Well, they're going to the bottom of the 9th inning. Orioles 5, Giants 1. Dodgers stumble, Giants stumble. So Nicasio trying to turn the lights out here. And the Pirates just trying to beat up on the Dodgers. Pirates doing very well if they were in the Western Division. They're going to be 18-10 against the West. However, they're 15 games behind the Cubs in the Central. 2-2 the count. Fastball fouled away. Corey Seager waiting on deck. He has 2 singles today, 2 for 4, and both hits to left field. In fact, he's hit the ball to left field 3 of his 4 at bats. Fly ball to left, fly ball to center, and 2 singles to left. All right, 2-2 to Taylor. Kendrick at first with 2 out. Breaking ball, and it's going to be in the right center base hit. McCutchen has it. Kendrick is going to keep on going to third, drawing a wild throw. It is backed up, however, by the pitcher Nicasio. So holding at first is Taylor. Big gamble with 2 out in the 9th inning, and you're down by 4. But Howie Kendrick, hustling all the time, goes all the way from first to third. The worst thing you can do naturally is make the last out at third base. Howie took one look at McCutchen, and it was reasonably close but wild. And Nicasio, the veteran pitcher, was in the right spot, backing up. So Taylor a base hit. Dodgers at first and third, 2 out, and here comes Clint Hurdle He has the left-handed Tony Watson, and you have Seager to be the hitter. So we'll see if Clint makes the move. It looks so. So Nicasio was not nearly as impressive as Rivero and Felice, but he did get 2 out, but he gave up 2 hits. We'll be back. Born in Sioux City, Iowa, lives in Grimes, Iowa. Big fella, 6'4", about 215 pounds. 31 years old, went to school at the University of Nebraska and signed by the Pirates back in 2007. The Marlins tried to sign him in 2003, but he wanted to go to Nebraska and then waited until 2006 when the Orioles offered him an offer, and he turned them down. And finally, in 2007, he signed with the Pirates. He's a workhorse, slow curveball for a strike. Since 2012 in the major leagues, Watson is the #2 workhorse. Ryan Shaw, 341 innings. Watson, 340. Brad Ziegler, 337. 0-2 the count to Corey Seager. Four-seamer, sinker, change, slider. That's the slider just off the plate. He is, so they say, an extreme fly ball pitcher, which is dangerous if you're in a smaller park. And it's popped up. Going out for it is Mercer. Coming in is Starling Marte, and that's that. So Seager going to left field 4 times. Winds up with 2 hits. The Dodgers leave 2. So the Dodgers get a dozen hits and 1 run. 5 runs, 7 hits for the Pirates to continue to beat on the Dodgers. They've beaten them 4 out of 5, and there's 2 more tomorrow and Sunday. Oh yeah, McCutchen and the guys having fun. Why not? Andrew McCutchen, the player of the game. He had a single, a stolen base, scored a run in the first, made a spectacular catch on the ball hit by Yasmani Grandal, and for good measure, Andrew hit a home run to right field in the 3rd inning. So the Bucks win it. Tomorrow afternoon, McCarthy and Cole will talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good evening, everybody.